Hello everybody. Wow, look at how beautiful the sky is. And this one. All right, let's talk about forgiveness, shall we? I had a few comments from you guys where you were asking me to talk about forgiveness. So here it goes. Put your seatbelt on. Because it's a topic, and I'm just gonna say already, if you feel triggers come up, just own them, notice them, feel into them, write them down. So forgiveness has so many components. First of all, if you're the one who thinks about that you want to forgive something or someone, or maybe yourself, the first thing I want to say is you cannot force forgiveness. You know, grief or processing a situation, a feeling, whatever it is, takes time. So I believe that forgiveness is often a byproduct of processing whatever we haven't been able to process yet. And that may be something quick. If it's a little experience, tiny experience, then we may be able to forgive quickly. If it's something that created a deep wound inside of you, let's say, often, when we look at our childhood and forgiving our caretakers or parents for something, sometimes we want to. I have to think of a client who, whenever we worked together, she always held back on actually fully allowing herself to admit how she felt about some things in her childhood, because she had so much, I guess she would call it respect for her parents, that she would not talk about them negatively, right? Although it doesn't need to be pointing fingers, it doesn't need to be negative, you can love people and still have a hard time with a situation with them. And so I think it's really important to really get honest with yourself about how you feel about something and what created maybe a wound inside of you, and maybe work with somebody to just maybe also understand better for yourself, why does it hurt you? What about it created the wound, or the resentment, or the anger, or the sadness, or the grief? Yeah, so I think processing is the first step, or let's say acknowledging how you feel is the first step, and then processing it, and then forgiveness is really a byproduct. So sometimes people say, okay, but now I grieved enough or whatever, but this is not, your mind cannot decide when you grieved enough. This is something that comes often. I have clients, and also from myself I know that often I'm surprised by forgiveness, by me forgiving myself, or by me forgiving someone. Oh, look at this, so beautiful. Nature, I love it. And sometimes I also have in session the opportunity to tell somebody, hey, maybe it's time to forgive yourself for that. Do you think you would be ready to do that? And then often a person has this realization, oh, I didn't forgive myself for something. Often maybe we don't even know who needs our forgiveness. And often it's even yourself. Because sometimes unconsciously we like to project anger or resentment or something like that onto others, because it's just not easier, but in a way more accessible to outsource that instead of facing, whoa, this is with me and me, you know. And then, yeah, so I often think forgiveness is a byproduct. Sometimes you will know when it's the time to forgive somebody or yourself or something, because you will somehow either, you know, find yourself at the same cycle again of being confronted with that situation, or you know, you're often triggered and angry, and you know, you're always finding yourself pointing a finger onto somebody else. And then maybe it's a nice opportunity to look inside and ask yourself, what have I not forgiven myself yet, or somebody else? And am I ready? And if not, what is needed right now? What do I need right now? Yeah, so I would say forgiveness is something that cannot be rushed, and it cannot be faked. Yeah, and I think it's very respectful also if somebody asks you for forgiveness, to be really honest with yourself and maybe even take some time, not immediately say, oh sure, it's okay, you know, especially our people pleasers, guilty, tend to quickly excuse everybody else, yeah, but we are very hard on ourselves. So it's okay to tell people, listen, I'm not sure if I'm ready to forgive that yet. Let me sit with that, or, you know, process this a little more. So I think honesty is really important in terms of forgiveness. And then if you are the person who wishes that somebody else, like that you're being forgiven, then the question is it really helping you to poke on people to ask for forgiveness and sit with that guilt? Or could you actually, you know, see if, oh, you know, am I guilty in that situation? And if so, that's okay, just own it. And then what is the action I can take going forward to improve my behavior, you know? And it's also important, wow, oh my God, I'm obsessed. And it's also important, yes, on one side to own, what is this? There's a high sound. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. On one side, it's important to own your flaws, your mistakes, you know, and also realize, okay, I own it, I don't avoid it, I don't lie about it, I own it. And often people don't want to own their mistakes because they're afraid to feel the feelings and emotions that come with it. Something like shame, guilt, and whatever. Yeah, often, especially if you're somebody who likes to avoid the emotions, often we like to push that away and just don't own up to it. But I'm telling you, it's going to improve your relationships when you start owning up to your mistakes. And that only works when you say sorry and you mean it. If you say sorry and you don't mean it, you may end up doing the same thing again. And then that's gonna hurt the other person so much more than if you would just own up and be honest, because it's actually also an opportunity for your own growth, for your own development. And if you notice, oh my God, owning that, no, that feels too hard for me, maybe it's an opportunity to work with somebody on it. Yeah. But if you're somebody like that who doesn't want to own their stuff, maybe you would already turn off the video by now. Because it's triggering to hear that. I know that. I remember I was in in a relationship once that, I don't think we were the best match, but we were together for a long time. And at the end of the relationship, something happened that really hurt me. And the person didn't own up. But the person actually kept on lying and not owning up to what they did. And it's really creating a feeling of craziness in the other person. You think you cannot trust yourself and your instincts, but the truth always comes out. So I just, if you care about other people, I would say own up, even if it's hard. Yeah, because that makes you deserve forgiveness, And also, speaking of that, when you're the person who is wanting to forgive something or someone, sometimes we also hold an extra grudge, although we are able already to forgive something. Like I said, forgiveness is a complex topic. It's also not going to be enough one video, by the way. I'm just getting started here with something and I hope it helps you. Sometimes we hold an extra grudge against somebody, but it actually only hurts us. So maybe that person, that situation is not even part of your life anymore, but you're still having this contraction that you carry within you, in your energetic system, in your body. Yeah. So then it's important for you to get to work and, let yourself process these held emotions, that held contraction that you keep, because it may be holding you back actually from moving forward into a new job, into a new relationship, into whatever it is. Yeah. Because you're still holding on to that old contracted energy. So then no matter if you actually forgive somebody and you're still in touch with them or not, do it for yourself, because at the end of the day you are only hurting yourself if you hold on to the grudge. It's only hurting yourself because literally it's stuck in your system. So think about it like that. Forgiveness is not necessarily in the first step for the other person. You're not doing it for somebody else. You're doing it for yourself. And again, it cannot be forced. When you're not ready, you're not ready. Maybe you're right now in the anger stage. And if you're somebody who is having a hard time allowing yourself to feel anger, great opportunity to learn that anger is a valid emotion and it's part of life, and you can process it in healthy ways without harming yourself or others. Yeah, it's an opportunity to learn how to regulate your emotions and process your emotions, because many of us haven't learned that. Our parents don't even know. Teachers don't even know in school. That's why it's so important to start learning. And a lot of people are also afraid to feel their emotions, anger, shame, sadness, pain. But it's part of life, guys. It's part of life. We're just taught to run away from it. But if we're actually learning to process them, and you don't have to process it all at one time, you can start feeling into it to start creating capacity in your body for that feeling. Yeah, because sometimes when we're always in our head and disconnected from our body, then connecting to our body and feeling those heavy energies may feel scary. So start slowly, work with somebody, start doing breath work, start meditating, start whatever may help you to slowly learn how those emotions feel like in your body, and that it's safe to feel them. Yeah. And what else about forgiveness? Oh, one more thing before I go inside, because it's getting dark. But I also want to show you the sky one more time. Beautiful, right? Okay, last thing on our list today is sometimes we carry unprocessed emotions like anger, resentment, sadness. Usually resentment and anger are cover emotions, and when you feel them through, underneath often lies grief and sadness about how something didn't work out, or that we haven't been seen, or that we didn't have the experience that we would have wished to have or needed to have. And again, the first closest topic would be a relationship where you didn't feel loved, or that always leads back to your relationship with your caretakers and or parents growing up, right? So the roots. So often when you have a partner or children or a business partner or colleagues or friends, sometimes that resentment that we, and the anger and the sadness that we push down so much that we maybe aren't even aware of that we have it from back then, comes out when your partner didn't do the dishes and you don't feel loved, when your friend didn't invite you to something and you don't feel seen, when whatever, you insert your experience here, and then you start getting angry at them, resentful at them for situations that are sort of smaller. I respect that you have these feelings and that maybe those situations, whatever it is, maybe it's even a strong situation, brings up those emotions, but then it's always good to ask yourself, what is this showing me? Is this something deeper? Am I responding or reacting? Yeah, responding to that situation like way too strong emotionally, or is it appropriate? And there's a difference between appropriate and right or wrong, right? Like, I'm not saying your emotions aren't valid, they are valid. But the question is, are they from the present situation, from the present moment, or do they go way back? Because sometimes we like to, and again, no judgment, we all do that, we're all human. Sometimes we like to project unconsciously, without you knowing, old anger, sadness, resentment, grief onto a present situation. So then we feel like, they don't care about me, all these kind of things. And we feel alone maybe, we feel misunderstood. And then we're having a hard time to forgive somebody for small things. And maybe we start shutting them out and so on. Instead of, sitting them down and say, wow, I'm having really a problem right now with the situation. I feel a little bit resentful because of this and this. How do you feel about this? See if you can have an open discourse. Or maybe if somebody crossed a line with you, or crossed your boundaries or your values, and you feel like maybe you come from a history of, I can't trust people, I'm all alone, or I'm not safe or whatever, and somebody triggers you in that, but maybe that person doesn't know. First of all, either the person mirrors your pain from the past and they actually, act in a horrible way, and you attracted them so that you can see, I still have a pain point here from the past. And maybe they will leave once you process this, and you actually, then in the process forgive them because you're like, thank you for showing me that. But you forgive for yourself, not for them, and they're still going to leave your life. Or they're actually good people and don't mean to harm you, but they don't know that maybe what the situation was, or maybe you need people, simplest example, maybe you need people to be really on time and very transparent with everything, and if they don't answer messages immediately, or they are a few minutes late, or they're a little bit flaky or floaty or whatever, then you feel like this is personal and you cannot trust them. So in that situation, it's good to sit people down and step into your worth and understand, I'm worthy of relationships that respect my values, respect my boundaries. Let me talk to the person and tell them, look, this is important for me because in childhood or in my previous relationship, friendship, work environment, you insert whatever fits to you, it wasn't like that. And so I told myself, no, this is part of my value or principle, or here's a boundary. So I just want to tell you so you know, okay? And then mostly the other person may say, oh my God, I'm sorry, thank you so much for telling me that. I didn't know that, so now I can respect your values, your boundaries, whatever it is, right? And then if you have a person who maybe is not in touch with their own values, boundaries, and hasn't done any work inside and feels triggered by you saying that, you will notice as well, you know, and you can say afterwards, oh, that person is for me or not for me, without even grudge holding. Maybe they are not aware of the work that you're doing right now, right? To feel more in sync with you. So then you will actually realize there's nothing to forgive here. That person is just not, you know, for me. So when you realize that you're worthy of relationships, environments, people, situations, and experiences that respect your boundaries, that respect your values and your principles and all these things, you will also then attract people who are in sync with that. And also communication is key. So let's say you're starting in your relationship and you're noticing a few red flags. Sit them down and tell them openly, look, this doesn't work for me. And maybe say it in a soft way. Maybe you don't need to say it in a self-righteous way. Maybe you can say it from kindness and from care. And if that person doesn't speak your language or is not willing to understand you, you have your answer. And by saying no to the people, situations, experiences, circumstances, environments you insert, whatever fits to you, you're actually showing the universe and yourself self-respect. And that's what's needed to actually create the environments and situations that you feel at home, safe, nourished and respected and loved in. So sometimes saying no to the people, and I think often people are afraid to say no because they think, if I don't get that person or to stay with me or like me, nobody will. But actually by you building your values, your principles, your boundaries, they don't need to be harsh, they just need to be natural to you and honest to you. And then saying no to people who cannot honor those or not willing to, you're showing your self-respect and you're actually building the path to build that life full of people, situations, job, whatever it is, that are aligned. And it may take some time, and that in between time is often what people are afraid of, because it seems like there are no results. But that's actually the time where you get to practice patience, you practice self-respect, and you practice also trust within you and into the relationship with a higher power. Okay, so I really hope this helped you in some way. I'm thinking, is there anything else coming through around this topic of forgiveness? Let's see. Yeah, I think this is enough for today. If you have questions, please put them below. Like I said, this is not going to cover everything, but it's a start. Woohoo! Happy New Year, everybody. I love you. Ciao.